Welcome to another edition of Maverick University. I'm your host, David Hallberg. Joining me today is Mrs. Joyce Anglea, an adjunct faculty at Providence Baptist College. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
We recorded you once before and had an episode with you talking about being the mom of a missionary. And
Yes.
If any of our listeners have not listened to that, I encourage them to go back and listen to that episode. It's very helpful and very encouraging as well.
Thank you. I hope so.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about a book that you had written, and we've required it for some reading for some of our ladies' classes here at the college. It's called Answers for Emily.
Yes.
And if you could just kind of describe who is Emily and
Okay.
why did you write the book
Okay.
and what kind of things did you talk about in the book? And we'll actually tackle one of those topics today.
Okay. All right. Well, several years ago, we had an assistant pastor. His name was Caleb Hansen, and his wife, Emily, wrote me a letter, and in it she had 12 questions, just 12 questions about some books that I would recommend, some how raising children, raising girls, raising boys, ministry, school, how we did our school. Our school schedule, how to get the kids to school on time, whatever. Just very practical questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided rather than just answer them in a 1 or 2 sentence, I would write my answers out. After I wrote my answers out, I wanted to make sure I was leading her in the right direction, so I had my husband read all of my answers. And as he would read them, he'd say, "Joyce, you need to put this in a book." And so I said, "Okay, I will." And so that's how it came to be. It's a little book, and it's, like you said, it's Answers for Emily. And it's just practical advice for Christian wives and mothers. And one of the questions she asked me was about traditions that we have in our family. Mm-hmm. And I had never really thought about it. So I had to get my thoughts together. And so I told her about Christmas, what we did for Christmas. And I told her that all during our younger years, we would either go to my family for Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever, or to my husband's family in Atlanta. And sometimes when we would travel to our different homes, I would think, oh, I wish we could stay home and do our own traditions. And then the day came when we could no longer travel, and it did become mine, to establish our own traditions. And then I missed going to my folks and going to his folks. But we did. We established our own little Christmas traditions. And I realized that there was this quote from Focus on the Family that traditions are a valuable way to strengthen families and create lasting memories. And that's exactly what they have done. And it thrills my heart when we go to our now grown and married children's homes, and they are carrying on the same traditions that we did. For instance, for our Christmas, we have our big meal Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, we have a big breakfast. We open our presents. We always read the Bible or the Christmas story. We open our presents, and then we have soup and sandwiches all day long and snack all day long, and that's our Christmas tradition. And it does. Traditions are important to the family dynamic, and I'm thankful that we can have these traditions. And I remember Thanksgiving. She asked me I wrote about Thanksgiving, and again, when it was mine to keep, mine to do, it was one day, I remember the first Thanksgiving that we had, and my husband kind of looked at it as a day to play football with the kids and maybe get a little yard work done because it was warm weather. And so I was in the house, getting the meal on, and I set this beautiful table, and here they came, in their work clothes, their play clothes, and
Not what you were expecting.
I looked at my I looked at my beautiful table and all the hard work, that I did, and I decided right then and there, this is our tradition. We are not coming to the Thanksgiving table in ratty-tat clothes anymore. So I said, our tradition now is you are going to dress up. So and we joke about it, but it's, I am firm and I will not be moved. So that's our Thanksgiving tradition. But I think the one tradition that I value the most is our birthday traditions and what we did for each of the kids on their birthdays. And this is what they remember and that they're doing with their kids. And everybody has a birthday, and it's their special day, and they want to be treated special, and they want to know that somebody is thinking about them, and mom hasn't forgotten. So a week or so before their birthday, I will make sure that they have their present or presents, and I'll wrap it up, and I'll put it on a table in a prominent place I would do this, put it in a prominent place in their house. And this would tell them, your birthday is special, and I haven't forgotten, and we're going to make a big deal about your birthday. And so they have to look at that present for a week and wonder what was in it. And so that was always fun. And then they always got to choose their meal, no matter what anybody else liked in the family. This was their meal, and no matter what it took, they were going to get their special meal. And so we would do that. And then I would try to make a special cake. And I do not know how to decorate cakes. I don't know how to do any of that. But I would, back then, now they have Pinterest, and you can learn anything from Pinterest. But we didn't have it back then. But I did have the current, it was a little cookbook, and they would how to decorate cakes. And they could look through this book and pick out a cake. And I would try to decorate it the best I could. And I know Leah, our daughter Leah, her nickname was Leah Bugs. And so she would sometimes pick out a ladybug cake. Or, and the boys would have something with a race car or something. And it was very simple, very, very not impressive at all. But it just said, my birthday is important to my family and to my mom. And so we would have this cake. And then so that the day of the birthday, they'd have their meal. And then this is something so silly, but the kids loved it. And we do it with our grandkids too. We would turn all the lights out so it'd be completely dark, and we would light the candles on the cake. And so, I can still see, we would bring the cake in front of them, and here was this flame lighting up the kids' face. And just to see the smile on their face, this is my birthday, my day. And we would sing, and they'd blow the candles out. And so then we'd have our cake, cake and ice cream. Then they'd open their presents. So that was what we do for their meals. And then that night during devotions, I don't know, it makes me it was so special. My husband would tell about how we first found out that we were expecting them and how happy we were. Well, except Cherith was our surprise. Cherith was our surprise. She was our last. She came 5 years after Leah. And so I remember this, Cherith was sitting beside me, and my husband said, so we found out, we were expecting Cherith, and Mom cried. And Cherith looked at me and said, you didn't want me? No, Cherith, no. We were just surprised. But anyway, and he would tell about how we found out we were expecting them, and then about the day that they were born and how we went to the hospital and all the events of their birth. And the kids just, that was just what we did. And it was their day, and how happy we were that they were born and they were a part of our family. And like I said, it was our little tradition to celebrate their birthdays. But now to see our kids do the same thing. It's these ties that bind your hearts together. So that was our birthday tradition. And traditions, I would just encourage every young mother, anything you can do to have a tradition that will tie your hearts and bring memories for your children. It really will bind your hearts together.
Well,
so
telling those stories from year to year, it almost becomes the stuff of
it
legends.
Does. It is. And they kind of know what's coming, but they never tire hearing about it.
Just to illustrate, the importance of a tradition, one thing that my wife and I do on our kid's birthday is we will wake them up first thing in the morning, singing happy birthday to them. And
yes.
My younger daughter's birthday is on Monday. And she woke up this morning, and my wife and I were already up in the living room, and she walked into the room and was like, "You didn't sing happy birthday to me." I'm like, "Well, it's not your birthday yet." Her grandparents are coming into town today, so she thought it was her birthday for whatever reason.
Okay.
But, it makes a difference. They remember it, they expect it, and it's something they look forward to. How silly is that? It's a 30-second song, and at the time, they really don't enjoy being woken up, being sung to, but they actually look forward to it.
Yes.
I want to zoom out a little bit and just talk about the concept of Miss Emily Hansen writing you, asking you questions. It's a biblical principle that the older women should teach the younger. And I'm going to I forget where in the book of Proverbs. I'll have to look it up later to make sure that it's where it is, but it talks about drawing out as from a well of water. Can you talk about the importance of young women, young men going to those who are more experienced and drawing out? Maybe even your own experience. Who did you draw from?
I drew from my pastor's wife, Mrs. Diane Brown. She was a well of knowledge. She was from the South, so she had a unique way of putting things. But I never tired hearing her talk. And so other than my mom, it would have been Mrs. Diane Brown. And yes, I would encourage you, don't be too proud to ask questions. And I remember my pastor saying, Brother Brown would say, he would go to his pastor, Dr. Bobby Robertson, and he would say, "Brother Bobby, did you ever?" And before he could even get the question out or the last of it out, Brother Bobby would say, "Yes." So, there is nothing new under the sun. Everything you are facing, someone has gone through it before you, and there is a well of knowledge out there. And find somebody that you trust, your pastor's wife, your mother, a trusted friend, an older sister, a teacher from the past, whatever. And you don't have to live wondering. You can get help. And people who have lived through it are happy to share their experience with you. And they're happy to help. Knowing that something in my life can help someone else is a joy. A hardship that I have gone through, that I've had to figure out, if it can help somebody, I'm happy for it.
And you're not going to go out of your way to insert yourself.
No.
Sometimes you're looking from a distance and you're seeing people have issues, problems, and you're like, "I wish you would ask."
That's true.
Are there any things that come to mind, common things, topics that, man, if young women or young mothers would ask about this, they could get help? And you're just kind of sitting there frustrated yourself, like, "I hope they would ask, and I wish they would."
Yes.
What topic would that be?
Sometimes I see young women struggle with maybe a sister-in-law or a mother-in-law issue. Those are common. It's not unusual. I'm not saying it's right, but it's not uncommon. I've gone through that. And if they would ask, I would be happy to share what I've had to do in my life with these relationships. And so, but you have to ask. So that's one thing. They have, something, their children is not responding to something. I've had 6 children, and, some things work better with other children, than other things.
Yeah, wide range of personalities.
Right.
Sure.
And, some children you look at and they melt. Some children stare back at you, So, if you just ask, I'll be happy to share what we did. But I want you to ask.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing all of this with us. Family traditions are very important, and we look forward to having you back again.
Okay. Thanks, you very much.
And if you want to catch out the other episodes of the podcast, make sure you check out YouTube and the audio-only platforms, and make sure that you subscribe and that you also like the video, and please share it with somebody who you think it might help. Thank you so much for joining us.